Hi, it's Jill Foster here with your next Simply Shimmer, Simply Penny Black stamping video, a monthly video series where I focus on the joy of simple stamping and painting those images with my favorite Shimmerz paints. And today I'm doing a holiday card featuring the Ho Ho Holiday Inkling set as well as the Pixie Dust Blings. And those inklings are a shimmering watercolor and the blings are a very iridescent sparkly textural paint, and I'll show you lots more of that in the video. The stamp that I'm using is a Penny Black Poinsettia Wreath, and this is really fun to color and to paint. And I'll also be embellishing the card with Penny Black's Winter Cheer Creative Die. And here's a look at that finished card that we'll be making today. And you can see a couple close-ups of the shimmer and the painting on the wreath. So to begin, I will be stamping my image onto Canson 140-pound watercolor paper. I'm using the Misty to stamp this just because that watercolor paper is very textured, and this will allow me to stamp it a couple of times to make sure I have a really detailed, great impression. I'm stamping with StazOn Ganache ink, and this is a waterproof ink, and so there won't be any bleeding of the stamped image as I paint it in. And you can see here I just re-ink and stamp it 3 times in order to get a really good impression. And one more time and we'll be ready to paint. What's fun about this wreath is that none of the images are very large, and so it's really easy to paint. You don't have to worry about much shading, and with the shimmering watercolors it's very easy to get a very complete looking image without having to use a lot of different colors and a lot of time shading. So I'm using the first color, this is called Naughty or Nice, and to paint the poinsettias I'm just painting that right onto all of the petals. Now the inklings will come in their pot and it'll be hard. Just add water. I fill mine up all the way to the top with water and let them sit for about 5-10 minutes because I like a very creamy paint when I go to paint my images in. Now to lift a little bit of that color and to give more dimension to my painting, I cleaned off my brush, and then you'll see me here squeeze that onto my hand so the brush is pretty dry, and I can go back in and it sort of sucks up the extra paint. And if you're having any trouble sort of lifting that paint, you can re-wet the place you want to do it and then sort of squeeze out your brush like I show there on my hand and then lift that paint. And it is amazing what adding that white highlight gives to the image, and just by using one color of paint you can fade from light to dark. I'm going to do the same thing here on the leaves. So I'm painting these in with the color the holly and the ivy. These are part of that Ho Ho holiday set. While it's still wet, I'm going to go in with a fairly dry brush. A lot of people will call that a thirsty brush, and just sort of suck up and drink up that excess paint. And if you're having trouble, again, like I said, you can re-wet that and sort of pull it up again then with that thirsty brush. So I did that for the leaves and the poinsettia, and I painted in the berries with the red, the Naughty or Nice. And here I'm going to mix 2 of the colors. So I'm mixing the holly and the ivy and the color called Frosty's Buns. It's kind of a bluish tint, just to get a different color of green. So if you just got this one set of shimmers, the Ho Ho holiday set, you can mix the colors in there to get different shades. So this just gives me a little bit lighter green and also just a touch of a turquoise look to it because I've mixed in that really light blue. And I'm just painting right over sort of the pine portion of the wreath. And to give that a lighter look, I just put more down at that color called Frosty's Buns, and then I'm painting that around the area of the wreath. And this is just a really subtle way to give somewhat of a border to that wreath, and so that all the portions are painted in a little more realistically. I'm just zooming in here so you can see that. It's a really light color, but it does give that shimmer. And again, no shading is necessary, just painting it on. Next, I wanted the whole panel to be very shimmering, and so I'm using the Twinkle Twinkle color. And this would be great if you were painting, if you had some stamped image that was a snowman. This paint would be perfect for that. Instead of just leaving it white, you could paint that in and give it a really frosty look. And here I just wanted to show you, I painted the hole in the center of the wreath and the outside portion, and it all shimmers. It's so pretty. It's very pearlized. Now to add some splatters, I'm using the holly and the ivy color, and I've just got that on my brush and I'm flicking it more around the outer edges of the wreath. I didn't want it in the center, so I just used a piece of scratch paper to cover the center. Now these are the blings, and this is a pretty thick paint, and when you open it up, you just stir it up. I use the back of my paintbrush, and it has just tons of shimmer, tons of texture. It really reminds me, once it dries, like you've put mica on your project, and I think it looks so frosty. So if you are looking for the perfect paints for your holiday cards, this Inkling set, in addition to this blings, and this is the color Pixie Dust, they are really great if you want some shimmering colors for your holiday cards. And if you like traditional reds and greens, these would be great sets to add for your holiday cards this year. So using just a very small brush, I'm painting this on all around the wreath to this section, or this portion of the image, and I'm putting it on pretty thick because I want it to be really textural. Now this is the Penny Black creative die called Winter Cheer, and it has a couple other sentiments in it, but I love this joy. I think it fits really well inside this wreath. And I'm also painting this with the blings. I painted it, dried it with my heat gun, and then added a second layer because I just want this to be really thick and frosty and lots of texture on that. So I put it on super thick, dried it with the heat gun, and then put the second layer on top. And here you can see all of that shimmer and all of the texture on the sentiment. And to finish the card, I just put that sentiment on a tag and mounted my card to some pattern paper for the top and bottom border. And there's that finished card. I had so much fun making this using the Ho Ho Holiday set, the blings from Shimmerz, and then also that awesome stamp from Penny Black called Poinsettia Wreath. And there's a close-up of some of the coloring, and again of that shimmering sentiment. Thank you so much for watching today's video. If you enjoyed, be sure to subscribe to both the Shimmerz and the Penny Black YouTube channels. I've listed all of the ways you can connect and shop with Shimmerz and Penny Black in the YouTube description box below, and I have all the links there for you. And if you order any of the Shimmerz paints, be sure to mention my name, Jill Foster, in the comments section of your order to receive a pot of free paint. And here's a list of all the supplies used in the creation of today's video.